Remember, there are only two emotions, love and fear. Choose love. I'm Gina Martell, and I have a question for you. What are you running from? So, a few days ago, I was with a client, and we were discussing her fears of stepping out on her brand new life path. Oftentimes, when I clear out all the garbage and the fear and the limiting beliefs in someone's life, they're a little frightened, to step out into the new life without having all that garbage, to carry around with them. It can be very daunting. I'm sure you can relate to that. It's like waiting for the other shoe to drop. Ironically, as we were discussing her fear, I looked from my peripheral vision, and in the back pasture, I could see my two horses, Dodger and Blue, running like crazy, like something was chasing them. I mean, they looked totally terrified. All the body language of, I thought, oh my God, could it be a coyote? What could it possibly be? So I had to excuse myself so I could go outside and check on them. Now, as an equine assisted life and relationship coach, I more than not use my horses in my sessions, of course, with people. Today I wasn't really going to because the weather was kind of iffy. And I guess, though, that the universe and Dodger and Blue had other thoughts about that. So I walked outside to go check on them. And my client, who totally loves horses, said, "Oh, I want to come with you." So I said, "Okay." We got out to the barn where I picked up the halter and the lead rope for Blue. And the client and I walked back out to the back pasture. And we found Dodger and Blue standing there just breathing so heavy, just fearfully, whites in their eyes, snorting, ears up, all the body language, bodies were tense. They were just scared to death. So I calmly put the halter on Blue, connected the lead rope, and asked my client if she could stand and just talk to him by his head so I could look over his entire body and see what was going on. Blue seemed really appreciative. I mean, he trusts me. He knows I'm going to take care of him. So while he stood there, he waited calmly so I could see what was going on. I looked over his entire body. I mean, he's 1,200 pounds. He's 16'5" hands. He's huge, okay? What I found was on his tail, there was a tiny, tiny little thin branch wrapped really tight around his tail that was loaded with thorns. And I think what happened was the thorns were catching on whatever brush and grass and thing that was on the ground while he was grazing. And so it was tugging his tail. And of course, he got really frightened, thinking something had him and was coming after him to kill him and probably eat him. I mean, this is the way horses think. Blue, not knowing what it was certain it was after him to get him. So I removed the branch. It took a little while. It was really wrapped super tight around his tail. So I finally got it off, and he just stood there, trusted me to get it done, and then I finally got the branch or the little twig removed. While I was doing this, I noticed my client standing very close to his face, patting him on the face and talking very calmly and confidently to him. So once I had the branch out, I went over and gave Blue a big rub on his face. And then, like nothing, because horses live in the moment, he put his head down and started grazing. And then Dodger, of course, calmed down and put his head down and started grazing. And then the day was perfect. The wind was blowing, the birds were chirping, and they could get back to grazing in the sun with the wind blowing their manes and tails, and it was just a beautiful moment. When we got back into the house, my client and I sat down, and we started laughing at the thought of, wow, this big 1,200-pound animal, how could he be so afraid of a little teeny tiny twig? I related Blue's fears to her, and her being afraid of taking that leap of faith and stepping out into a new life. All she had to do was believe that she could create the kind of life that she wanted, and to start living as if it was already happening for her. And when necessary, she could find her calm and confident voice inside of her to help calm her down. Sometimes we worry about the really small things. Sometimes we worry about the really big things. But as my favorite philosopher Rumi says, as you think, so shall you be. So if you're going to live your life in fear, you're going to be a very fearful person. If you live your life in love, you'll be a very loving person without fear. Are you running from things in your mind? How big are they really? When you quiet your mind and you really figure out what you're afraid of, could it be possible that you're kind of like Blue, that you're running with a little tiny thing wrapped around your tail too tight and it's making you run crazy and wild, but it's just a little thing? Once again, my horses helped my client. Once again, my horses reminded me that trust is earned. And fear is going to be there sometimes. Courage is having the fear, but confronting it anyway. When we walk through the fire, we come out on the other side, and we are forever transformed. So let's talk about fear. In the Course of Miracles, a huge book that my sister gave me, it emphasizes throughout all the pages that there are only two emotions, love and fear. If you love, you cannot have fear. If you fear, you cannot have love. But if you live your life in a state of loving, fear has no real place at all in your life. My client having the fear to step into her new life, I would expect that. She didn't have a childhood or a life up until that point that had been without fear and had been with unconditional love. She had no idea what that was. That was a whole new experience for her. So of course she was going to be a little apprehensive. She had never known having her own control and how to let go and have absolute freedom to live your life as you wanted to. She'd also never known self-love. But I knew she could do it. And what about the fear of doing what you want to do and someone else judging you? What about when you're growing up and your parents are not supportive of you being an artist or a musician or a teacher or even a horse trainer? What happens to those dreams? You acquiesce to what everybody else wants and you're doing something you really are not passionate about. But inside, that dream is still alive. It's just lying dormant, waiting for you to stand up and say, this is what I want to do. That dream will come right back to you. So let me explain a little bit more about these two emotions, love and fear. Because sometimes you think, oh no, but there's a whole bunch of other emotions. Sure there are. But behind all those emotions are either love or fear. So jealousy equals fear. Anger equals fear. Hatred equals fear. Kindness equals love. Patience and understanding equals love. My horses had this fear because they are prey animals. But we humans are not prey, we are predator. We are prey when we allow other people to prey on us, to minimize us, to be like we don't exist. Live your life in love and love with yourself. Love it all. Wake up in the morning, meditate. It's something I recommend to all my clients. 5 or 10 minutes before you jump out of bed to go pee or after you come back from going to the bathroom. Get back in bed, sit down on the floor, sit down on the ground, and take a few minutes and be grateful. Even if you only have 5 things to be grateful for, start with that. Look around you. Be grateful for the sky, for the trees, the birds singing, the ground, the rain. There's so many things, nature. Be grateful for that you have a house to live in. Be grateful that you have a car that takes you to work. Be grateful for the people that made that car for you, that they knew what to do to make you a car. Be grateful you had the money to pay for that car. Be grateful you have a job to go to. Sometimes we just forget. It's all those little things that matter sometimes too. Don't walk around thinking that you have a void. Don't walk around saying, I can't find love. I've got to look for love. I don't have money. I don't have a job. I don't have happiness. When you continue walking around with those voids, you will continue having those voids. So stop that. Stop the negative beliefs. Stop the fear of, but I don't have. You will have. Think positive. Speak life into your life. Speak what you want, what your dreams are in your life. I cannot emphasize enough. Live as if it already is. Feel the emotional gratitude and joy of it as if it already is. Try living like that for a week. No kidding. Try getting up and being grateful. Try going the extra mile. Try being kind, saying a kind word, apologizing, owning something that you did. Oh, my bad. Ask for forgiveness. Try it, okay? Think every day in gratitude and say, Today's going to be a great day. And be nice to people at work. Try it for a week. If you don't start to feel joy and openness in your heart, if you don't start to feel great, I promise you never have to watch my videos again. Today, because I talked about it, I do want to recommend you pick up the book, A Course in Miracles. I warn you though, it is a huge book. It's going to take time to read. It's like that thick. But it's really worth reading. And like I said, they emphasize about the emotions. 2 emotions, fear and love. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm Gina Martell, and I'm a certified equine assisted life and relationship coach. Visit my website. It is coachginamartell.net. You can also visit my Facebook page. It is Coach Gina Martell. I would love to get emails from you. I would love to help you with some of your problems. If you have any questions, I'm open to comments too. Send me an email. It is ginaemartell@gmail.com. I also do session work, one-on-one with people. I do groups. I do FaceTime. I do Skypes. And I do firewalks. We'll talk about those in another one of my talks. Thank you so much for joining me. God bless you a million times.